This is Chris Tomalin for Read Aloud Delaware. Wanted to share my book, Oscar the Obstinate Osprey, with you. Oscar. Oscar was often called the Obstinate Osprey by his mother. Of course, Oscar, while just a fledgling, which means newly hatched, had no idea what it meant to be obstinate. But, as you know, she didn't actually call him as your mom might call you. She would make noises like ah, caw, caw, as birds of prey often do. If she arrived onto their platform nest that rested high on a pole with a delicious fish for him to eat, obstinate Oscar would often turn up his beak and look away. Now, most other fledglings would have been overjoyed to have a bit of fish to eat, delivered to their nest of twine and twigs, and they would have savored every tasty bit that their mom ripped off for them. But Oscar, on the other hand, only liked sea bass. The taste of perch or rockfish or mackerel or snakes or frogs, if fish weren't running, would make him turn up his beak, and he would refuse to eat it. Yes, that's the meaning of obstinate. It means difficult and stubborn. Oscar was otherwise known as a picky eater. You may know one or two picky eaters yourself, but as summer pushed into fall at Massey's Landing, Oscar wasn't growing. He wasn't getting the protein that he should have gotten from eating his meals, and his mom worried that he wouldn't be strong enough to fly south when the cold winds blew in from the northwest. His wing feathers were turning darker gray, and his belly feathers were bright white, but he was very small and not very strong. When the first frost began to cover the nest at night, Oscar's mom knew it was time for them to leave to fly the nest and go south. She gently pushed Oscar out from the platform nest and watched as he came down hard on the grassy patch below. His wings weren't strong enough to catch the wind or carry him through the air to soar along with her. And so obstinate Oscar was left behind. She needed to follow the coastline and get south to the warmer waters and her food supply. "Ach, ach," she cried as she flew away, which was telling Oscar, "Fly, fly, Oscar, follow me." But Oscar just wasn't strong enough. It wasn't long before when his father and mother left Massey's Landing on the coattails of the brisk fall, winter arrived. Oscar tried to keep warm. He picked a boat not far from where the nest was. He had watched the man get in and out of it as he carried it to the river, and it turned over for the winter and made a perfect place for Oscar to shelter from the wind and the snow. Oscar carried dry marsh grasses and placed them under the boat for a soft nest, but he was hungry. He wished he had that little bit of perch or mackerel that he turned his beak up to in those warm summer months. Oh, how he wished he hadn't been so obstinate, and that he had eaten that fish that Mom brought to him. He missed her so much. He missed how she protected him from the hot sunshine as she would spread open her wings above his body and shield the sun. He wished he could be with her now, safe under her downy white feathers, and he wished he had her wings to sleep under. How much he wanted food. Well, Oscar decided he better go search for something to eat, or for sure Oscar would starve. Oscar welcomed eating mice and voles and any small fish he could be able to catch. And he ate more and more of whatever he caught and found that suddenly his wings were getting stronger and he could fly higher. He was able to sail over the river and the Indian River inlet. The higher he went, the easier it was for him to see the fish swimming in the waters below. He was able to dive down and catch a fish with his claws and take it back and eat it. As the dark days slowly turned lighter and longer, the warming winds carried him along. Oscar heard the cawing of summer birds, and he watched every day for his mother and dad to return. It wasn't long before the frogs were croaking loudly, and the sun started to warm his feathers, and the osprey might come back to nest. Oscar called and called every day, and then one spring day, his calls were returned. Oscar saw his mom flying over the river and land above in their nest. Oh, he was so happy to see her again. Obstinate Oscar now knew the true meaning of what the word obstinate meant, and he wanted his mom to know that was no longer his name. From now on, it would be Oscar, just plain Oscar Osprey. Oscar would eat any fish that they might catch, but of course, sea bass would always be his favorite. And they flew above the inlet, over the river together, and out to the ocean. Oscar, with his mom and dad, was strong and proud.